Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today we've brought out another old school combination and one that on paper should theoretically work out pretty decently. But on the other hand, I know the limitations of what the shell can actually do, so I don't know. There's a chance we see a pretty decent pattern today, but there's also a chance that it's not very impressive at the same time, really. It could kind of go either way, and I think a lot more of it's going to be determined by what the shell can actually produce than what the choke combination is actually going to do. So for the shell I've brought out here today, I brought out some more of these. And if you've been around the channel for a while, then you know that these are not Winchester Ranger shells. These are my grandfather's hand-loaded 2 3/4 inch, 1.5 ounce of lead number 4s, which was his turkey load in the 1980s. And here's what those shells actually look like. They are a paper hull, which is quite a bit different than what you see in modern turkey loads. And I'm not going to cut one of these open in this video, but I will throw a couple pictures up here on the screen of kind of how they look on the inside. They don't really have a wad. They just have a little piece of plastic or potentially mylar that he hand cut and wrapped around the shot in here. So definitely pretty interesting for the loading anyway. But considering that this was a hand load from 40 years ago, it has done relatively decent so far. I mean, it's better than a few of the turkey loads we've tested that are modern loads. So maybe it might work through today's combination. I really don't know until we try it. And speaking of that combination, I brought out the Remington 1187 here with this choke. This is a Colonial Arms RCTK2, which is their extra full 675 constriction turkey choke. Now on paper and in thinking, lead 4s through a little bit more of an open constriction like this 675 typically tend to work out pretty well together. Plus, this is not a ported choke, so there shouldn't be anything for that little piece of mylar to really wrap itself around or get caught on, like porting in another choke. So maybe this combination might work out pretty decently. There's definitely a chance of it anyway, I suppose. So as for the testing, we're going to do everything the same as always. We have the turkey target set up downrange. It is going to be a 40-yard shot. I'm not handicapping these shells at all. And I've also got the chronograph, so we'll be able to see how fast this shell's actually moving. So let's get you guys a view of this target, and I'll head up and take the shot. We'll look at our chrono, and we'll go down and look at our actual target. So let's head over here and shoot them and see what we can get. Okay, so that shell gave us 1263 through the chronograph, and that's about what I expected to see from my memory anyway. Mid to high 1200s. So 1263 isn't too bad. I don't think it's moving too fast, but it's definitely not moving too slow either. But how did it actually perform down there on the target? Let's go take a look and see. Alright, so now we're down here looking at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, I do apologize for the target not looking so amazing. It has started to rain out here, and this is what I had to do. Hopefully, you guys will be able to see it at least a little bit anyway. I had to fill in all of my normal circles there, except I see I missed one right up there. But either way, I think we can still see what we want to see here. And to be honest with you, this combination did not work out, or at least definitely not how I thought it would anyway, that's for sure. So with that, it seems like these old turkey shells might like the little bit tighter constriction, which I guess can make sense too, considering they don't really have a wad. But I figured with them being 4s and with the little mylar wrap, they might like the little bit more open, non-ported choke. But clearly, that is not exactly the case here. Now, as far as having a dead turkey here, I guess you might have had one. There's definitely nothing in the head or really the spine area either. However, down here in that bottom left corner, you would have got a couple of them in the body. So maybe you might have knocked the bird down and had to run up and deal with him there. But I don't know that I would have counted on it anyway. You might have actually lost this bird. So at the end of the day, it's really not quite as good as what I would have expected, I guess. Now, obviously, this shell is not going to produce the kind of patterns that we can get out of today's loads, but we've absolutely seen quite a bit better than this as far as performance goes from this shell through some different chokes. At the end of the day here, this combination just didn't work. And it's definitely not a combination or a choke that I would want to run this shell through if I was taking this old load out to actually hunt with it. So a little bit surprising and unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Clearly, it did not work out for today's test. Okay, and here's that little Mylar plastic wrap piece. As you can see, he would have just cut this and wrapped it around the shot like that in the shell. It does have a few little pinholes in it, but no rips or tears or anything that I'd be too worried about. It definitely looks a whole lot better, probably through that little bit more open, non-ported choke than what we have seen through some other tighter chokes with porting. So I don't know on this one. It's just a combination that did not work out, but I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with the Mylar wrap piece here causing any problems for us necessarily. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance there? Definitely not nearly as good as what I had hoped for, or not really what I expected either. I guess on one hand, it's not totally unsurprising, but on the other hand, in thought and on paper, I would have guessed it would have been a little bit better than that. But clearly, this combination just isn't going to work out quite as well as what we had hoped anyway. And like I've already mentioned, we have absolutely seen better results than that from this shell, even if it doesn't really compare to a modern turkey load in most scenarios. But that's why you come out here and test things, to figure out what works and what doesn't. So with that being said, leave your thoughts in the comments and let me know, is that about what you expected to see, or were you a little bit surprised? And if you have any experience loading shells like this, or have shot shells that were loaded like this, what have you tried and what really has worked out well for you in your testing when it comes to loads like this? Leave all that down below in the comments. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for y'all. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send things if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested. But I'm going to get back to the testing for y'all, so I'll see y'all in the next one.